You know, like that debate where people are like your sci-fi thing versus like your Middle Earth or things like that. Like, what side of the aisle are you on? Like, those things are like always
Uh,
fun to me. It's like people with like your lightsabers versus people with axes. But
I'm just like, if there could be a whole channel of sci-fi, why can't we like more than one thing?
exactly, because I feel like the best representation of that was an episode of Phineas and Ferb where they go to a convention and you had people who like sci-fi things on one side, and you had your action adventure people on the other. So they were like, which one is better? They ended up having like a fake like LARPing fight.
Yeah.
But the best part was Phineas' sister Candace dressed as Ducky Momo because she didn't
Yeah.
she wanted to feign like she wasn't a geek, or it's like she's like, no, I'm not into it. But then she got the Ducky Momo cosplay and she walks down the middle of the fight, and they all stop looking at her like, what? But the moral of the story was like, we can enjoy the same things together because we're all here, we're all nerds, we're geeks. That was fun.
Right.
But today, uh, we are talking about the wonderful, I don't want to say debate, but the topic of Star Trek versus Star Wars, or Star Wars versus Star Trek, for those who want the things said the other way around. but um, welcome everyone to Blerdlines Podcast. My name is Chancellor D. I'm joined by Kurenai Kiba. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Yeah, I would say last year we got to hang out at what was that, QuarkCon?
Yes.
Yes, that was fun. Had one of the
Oh,
best 2 hour conversations I've ever had.
I know,
like
right?
like
It was such a fun time.
like nerd life. It was so fun.
It sure was. I loved
But,
it. It was so good.
but
I miss it.
I do too. I mean, with the world we're in, it's like I've seen a lot of posts. People are like, I miss conventions, and like I do too. I was looking forward to potentially going to BlurCon this year, maybe, and I was like, you know, it will be next year, hopefully. I'm not sure. I don't think they've canceled that yet, but we're in May now. That's in 2 months, so I don't know. But
Yeah.
but
Like, just save all your con money this year for dope con season next
this is true. I think before we go that, I just need the world to get better, and we all are better at the other end of what's going on and stuff. And
People
yes,
be safe.
yes. But I know we've known each other for a while, so we like both have like our shared interest of like sci-fi things. So, but before we get into like all that, can you tell people like who is Kurenai Kiba? Like, this is like who are you, as people say?
Ooh, okay. I am the technical spiel that I give people is that I am a seamstress and a graphic designer. Um, and I make and design costumes for cosplayers. Uh, that's from all over the United States, as well as I make logos and stuff like that, and I draw and I do commissions. Who am I as a person is just I'm just a half Jamaican lazy bones that likes to chill at home and play Sims.
Hey, Sims are life, as they say.
Right? Exactly.
Uh,
And like I curl up with my cat and I watch and read a lot of sci-fi and a lot of manga and comic books. And I really like to indulge in the nerdy side of media. Uh, but that's just me. Makeup, comic, cat, video games, and just kind of trying to live my best life during these hard times.
hey, I got you. Hey, we do what we gotta do, and take it one day at a time, and then as I keep saying.
You know,
Uh, but like, how long have you been like into like nerdy or arts and arts crafting and doing everything that you're doing? Like, how long have you been doing these things?
ooh, okay. So full time, I've been doing it for about 2 years.
Okay.
Full time, two almost 3 years. Whereas I was always doing it kind of like part time for about 4 or 5. Because during that time I was still doing like a full time job and doing all this other stuff, and I didn't believe that I had the stuff to make this a permanent thing for me. It was something that I could enjoy on the side. It couldn't actually be like a permanent source of income, but it actually, I took the leap of faith and it actually worked.
Okay.
Yeah.
And before we move on to our topic at hand, for those who are interested, like what like in following your work in commissions, like where can they find you online?
Oh, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, um, and if you want to hear my random rambling, Twitter at Kurenai Kiba 590. But Instagram and Facebook are both Kurenai Kiba, or you could just find my website at kurenaikiba.com, and then that could take you anywhere.
Okay. And what's the origins of your name? If you don't mind me asking.
Of course. Okay, so this is a fun one because a lot of people think it's from nerd, but it's actually not. It is from Samurai Champloo. Episode 5, there's a woman that walks in and talks to Mugen, and she looked like the baddest chick I've ever seen. She was so awesome. And she went by Budo Kiba, which, of course, type of martial arts. I'm both like, I'm too chunky. I don't really do martial arts like that, but I definitely wanted to at least keep the surname. So instead of Budo, I used Kurenai, which is my favorite color.
Okay. Nice. I like that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Exciting. Okay. Yeah, usually I always ask at the end, like, what's the social media? So I was like, no, like, I want, it's like people wonder, like, where can we find her commissions and get in touch with her? Like, like, hey. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm an open book. It's like, you just got to search for me. You'll find me. I'll answer. I'll always answer.
Okay. So, I know today, we're talking about, like, Star Trek, Star Wars. So, before we kind of go, like, down, like, the rabbit hole, if you will, onto those, like, when did you get into, or how long have you been into, like, those, like, genres, like sci-fi space operas and stuff?
Oh, so in my household growing up, everyone has their own type of fandom, or it's something that, like being nerdy was a natural thing in my household. My dad's thing is Western and comic books. My brother's was comic books and anime. My mom's has always been sci fi, to the point where those were our bedtime stories if it was her turn to put us to bed. And then with dad, it was Louis L'Amour books because those were the westerns that he's really into. One of my sisters is sci-fi, and my other sister is like high fashion. So we all had our own little niche. And as the youngest in a family of 6, then like I got a little bit of everything. So it's like I wake up early on Saturday mornings with my brother and watch anime, and I watch cartoons. After that, there's a special on the public shows for the different westerns that would come on. I'd stay with my dad for that. Mom would read Stephen King to me, like from time to time before I went to bed. Or I'd sit and I'd chill with mom and my oldest sister, watching the Sci-Fi Channel when it was still like a fresh thing. When there was like Alien Nation, Twilight Zone, and all that kind of cool stuff. To watching those fashion shows like What Not to Wear and all that kind of stuff with my other sisters. So it was really like a hodgepodge of what everyone liked was what I was really into. So It's always been. I learned to read with Batman comics. Like it's always been a thing in my life.
Okay. It's not to get too ahead of myself. It kind of sounds like a Mort collective almost. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It's like
Exactly.
you all come together to make your unit whole and greater with your numbers, and it's like everyone has their specialties. So like my brain instantly said board collective.
Yeah.
But no, that but that's good. Like, and especially when you said like sci-fi, especially when it first started, when it was called sci-fi as in SCIFI instead of as it is now
Yeah. The
SYFI.
SYFY, which I'm like, come on, man. It's. I understand because for a while you put the wrestling on there and other things that are technically not science fiction, but come on.
Yeah, and now wrestling is on USA and Fox.
Yeah,
So I mean,
yeah,
at least WWE, AEW is on TNT. But that's a
yeah.
conversations we can have for another day on this thing.
Right.
But but I mean, shoot, Stargate SG-1, you know,
um,
all Stargate Atlantis, SGU, Stargate Universe, which unfortunately had 2 seasons, but yeah, Warehouse 13, all these other fun Eureka, all great shows.
oh man, great overall show from start to finish. Well planned, wonderful.
Yes, I mean, but which was, speaking of sci-fi, which was like one of your favorite shows that they did on their network?
Oh, I would have to say, let's see. That's a good question because I would burn through so many hours on there. Probably be Caprica.
Ooh, good choice.
Very smart. It was very smart, very well done. I personally really enjoyed just how deep in the lore they went to express it into a series. I just thought that was so great. And I was like, because I was used to spinoffs where it was like, okay, maybe we'll like grab a little bit of the original series, maybe not. But with that one, it's like they really truly expanded the world and like went deeper into what it meant to be a part of it. I thought that was so nice, so nice. I was like, which is probably why I enjoyed Torchwood so much compared to Doctor Who as well. I love them both, and the Sarah Jane uh,
Yes,
show as well, where it's just like it's not just like I'm taking a piece of it and running with it. I'm taking this world and expanding this world and giving you more of a more well-rounded experience.
I get you.
And I love that.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Caprica and Torchwood. Like I like how they both exist on their own, even though Caprica is considered a prequel to the more recent
Yes.
Battlestar Galactica as compared to
Yeah.
the original. But
Mm-hmm. Also very good. Yeah.
yes, it's like I know what that they had like good callbacks to the original series, like especially with some of the names
Yeah.
and not just saying here are the Cylons. But
Yeah. Right.
but Caprica, if I'm not mistaken, was like they made the first Cylon. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Because then
And
what
then
was
you watch the evolution of how they like started taking form. Oh,
right?
cool!
So because you got to
I love that.
see as they call it the skin jobs, like
Yeah,
and
that.
and everything for fact's sake, all that. So,
Yeah, yeah, right.
but
Exactly.
but uh,
Exactly.
but all that to say, about different cereals and like you don't hear people saying cereals that much anymore, but like yeah, different series and shows and movies. Yeah, we're looking today, kind of like a little specifically at the franchises of Star Trek and Star Wars, where just a little history lesson. Star Trek's first episode of the original series was called The Man Trap, which aired on NBC on September 8th, 1966. And the first Star Wars movie, which was just called Star Wars, aired, or I mean, was released May 25th, 1977, and then dubbed A New Hope later on.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to just double check on the whole NBC thing for the first episode because I know CBS owns Star Trek, but I'm just double checking. but
Yeah.
but to have both these franchises, Star Trek has been around for over 50 years now. Star Wars
And
is close to 50. Um, uh, where do you see like yourself like on the if you had to say or pick a side, like do you like them both equally or kind of go one favor one more than the other? Like, where are you on that?
so I love them both. I do, and I enjoy both immensely. But I will say I'm leaning more towards Star Trek than I am Star Wars.
Okay.
I it's just like, and it's one of those where I do enjoy both. Whenever there's a Star Trek or a Star Wars movie, I pre-buy my tickets like any other sci-fi junkie, and I try and watch the opening because I always really enjoy a solid sci-fi. I bought CBS All Access simply because of Discovery and Picard. And then I found out there are other stuff on there too that I enjoy. But all I needed was those series. I was like, cool, sold.
So
Uh, yeah. I bought Netflix because I knew that Deep Space Nine was on it. And all the time great, which probably my favorite Star Trek is Deep Space. But yeah, I would have to say I'm leaning more towards Star Trek. I mean, in our house, Jordy took us on space adventures during the weekend, and then he would read to us during the week with Reading Rainbow. So, like, it's always been a solid part of my life when it comes to Star
okay. Yeah, and I did confirm, yes, it was NBC. Like CBS
Trek.
came around later. I was just checking. Like I checked earlier before we recorded, start recording, but I was like, I'm going to check again, make sure I'm right.
Oh, yeah, you never know. Once it's on the internet, that's out there. So it's always
Yeah,
good to double check.
it's like, how dare they not know? But yeah, no, but no. I get it. Yeah, you're right. Lieutenant Commander Jordy LaForge, took us, adventures in space, and then say, hey, we're gonna read to the kids and read Rainbow. Like, that I agree with you on that. That was really good. To kind of see, that I think that would teach children specifically that this is not just somebody playing a character, or that's just not a character. This is like a person.
Yeah, exactly.
Though it's,
It,
take
it resonated heavily with my sisters because both my sisters wear glasses.
gotcha.
So it was really nice to see somebody that was just like, even though there is something that's not of the ordinary with me, and I have this sort of apparatus to help me function in a standard setting, that doesn't hinder me at all.
Exactly,
Which was,
because if you think about it, even with Jordy's character, like you didn't really see that many characters that were blind on TV or had some type of I forget the technical term, but you know what I'm trying to say. That they had some like I know what I'm trying to say, but I can't think of the right word. But he was blind, so like you didn't see many characters that had different things like that going on. It was always like
yeah,
they don't wear glasses or they had contacts or they but in that case you're in the future. It's like they can fix that.
yeah.
So or but what they did, they gave him the visor and how he could see things through the visor. It's like that was a good. It's like you know the advances of technology
Yeah,
where we can get to that point where we can help people out like that. It's going to take time,
exactly.
but we'll get there.
Yeah, And I know there are a lot of people that they wish, where like I've noticed that when it comes to some complaints that I've heard when it comes to Star Wars, is that they're just like, well, why don't they have this fixed yet, or why don't they have that fixed, or this is something. It's like you have to remember, it always starts with long, long ago in a galaxy. They
Right.
have some technical advantages, like they have the spaceship, like that. But you also have to remember that this isn't the present or the future. So sometimes the technology doesn't match that.
Right.
And there are still some things where you kind of have to finagle away or kind of like take a piece of technology that we have now and devolve it when it comes to the Star Wars series. And that's something I've always appreciated, because Star Wars always really reminded me of like space weapons and the really awesome feel of these these battles in space, dealing with these really wonderful like undertones of the Wild West, and just having that whole gritty feel of it. Where some have guns, some have swords made out of light, little things like that, but it's still kind of very reminiscent of that. Whereas with Star Trek, it's always the journey. What are we going to do? Like, how do we become diplomats? Who do we discover? What do we find? It's like, what can we do to better ourselves as people? And the technology has to advance that ideal as well. So very radically on the opposite sides of the spectrum, which is why I could always see people liking one or the other as opposed to liking both.
Exactly. And like, if you're like, like some of us that like both, it's like, but you gotta take a side. It's like, I'll take a side. I like them both equally.
Right. It just means that I can enjoy both. And throw in a series like V and stuff like that in there too. Like, you don't have to necessarily pick one or the
Now, you just
other.
mentioned V. Question: original V or remake V?
Original, only because the remake pissed me off so much because it got canceled right when they were about to invade. And I was so mad because that was all I was waiting for.
I know, same here. Like, I was waiting for that invasion to take place. Like, especially the ending of the season where like you found out that your like, main character like her boss was like he knew, but
Mm-hmm.
like the fact that he was part of the resistance and he treated her like crap because he was just doing his job, but he knew what was going on. And I was like, this is so great, and it's canceled. And
Yeah,
and
right?
and
They were
all
doing so well with it.
it,
I was like, one of them, they found out that they could procreate with humans. So he was like, whoa,
and
this wasn't supposed to happen. I was like,
I mean,
it's
also
going
the
to be
fact
so
that the show they killed off uh, Anna's mother, who was in the original.
yeah,
I was like, why
yeah,
did y'all do that?
right.
Like you don't kill off Diana. She's
No,
and then they killed Morris Chestnut's character too, and I was just like, okay, I just
right. I'm
anyway.
just like, well, are you running out of money? Is that it? Like, I don't know. You can't afford them anymore. Is that
Uh,
it? I don't.
I
I don't know.
I think it might be
I
a
was so,
thing of people don't like certain shows when it hits too close to home.
yeah. That I mean, that's how Alien Nation got canceled. So I get that.
Oh, that was like too close to home for people.
I when yeah, because it was back in the day. The last episode I ever saw was they stumbled onto a gay couple, and one of the it was an alien and a black guy, and they were a couple. And I knew people were they were too through with that back then. They were like, that's too much. I was like, okay,
Okay.
okay.
And this was like,
Not the aliens invading Earth, but the gay couple. Okay. That's where you draw the line. Okay,
and this
got
was like 90s.
it. Yes. Yeah, it was like early 90s. And yeah. And
Okay.
it was revolutionary back then. But then,
Uh,
I mean, that's normally what sci-fi does.
yeah, it
So
put.
many times when it comes to sci-fi, they just, let's see if we could test the water. Let's
I'm
delve a little deeper. Let's go past that line of what normal society thinks is okay.
like, I mean, shoot, your first interracial kiss on TV was William Shatner and Nichelle Nichols.
Uh-huh.
Even
And even that was one of those where they're just like, well, you'll have to record one with the kiss and then one without the kiss. And that was after trying to convince them. It was like, oh no, we can't have an interracial kiss on TV. What will people think? It's like, okay, well, we'll do two versions and see which one that you'll like best. So they kept doing the recordings of the kiss over and over and over again. And then they only had room for one more shot. And it was the hug instead of the kiss. So when they hugged, Will Shatner crossed his eyes. So they're like, well, now you only have the option of either the kiss or me with my eyes crossed. Choice is up to you for
so
this week's
so
show.
he did he do that? Did he do that on purpose?
Yes, he did. He crossed his eyes on purpose so they couldn't get it. It was like, so it's up to you whether you want to choose my eyes crossed or the actual kiss.
You know, I've never heard that part of the story.
Yeah, right? Isn't it crazy?
Wow.
I know. It was
I mean,
like Star Trek was always so wonderfully revolutionary,
right.
and it's and that's the heartbeat of it, right? You know, like Star Trek was always the one that's like, let's go beyond what society is now. That's what Gene Roddenberry was thinking when he was like, no, it's going to be a truly equal society where black women are standing alongside white men, standing alongside Asian men, and like doing a job, working together as a team, and no one is above or below because of their gender or their race. They just are. Whether they're an alien, whether they're human, it's all one team working together to journey throughout space and discover new worlds.
Exactly. And like you have the notion that they work for equal gain. That, you know,
Yeah.
like I believe it's in I believe there's like episode of Next Generation when they find some people who were like frozen from like the 1920s or something, and and they're like, this guy, he gets injured and he's just like, oh, I'm gonna die. Oh, okay, he's like, farewell. But then they're able to heal him in seconds in sick bay, or it's like the fact they start talking about money, and they're like, how much does this cost? And Picard just says like, we did away with money a long time ago. We work for equal gain. There's no money, and
Yep.
and that person, like, he's just like, no money. Like, what do you mean no money?
Yeah.
Like, that's what we need. And I was like, yeah,
Do
I mean,
we
I get that.
truly need?
I mean, that's the society that we live in. But
Yeah.
we would do so much better with working for equal gain.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
I mean,
You're absolutely right.
looking at what's going on right now in the world, it's like, oh, you can't have coverage, or you can't get this. You can't be seen by a doctor. Do you have health insurance?
Yeah.
No. Well, so did they say that vaccine or whatever medicine this person needs, does it actually require money, or is it because we say it requires money?
Right. And even then, like, there are so many people who are afraid to even get tested simply because the test here is so expensive.
Right. So it's like, why are we?
Scary.
I mean, that own notion, money does not grow on trees. Where did this idea of money come from?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a side conversation for another day in my list of conspiracy theories and things like that. But going back around to what we were talking about, it's like, Star Trek, I agree, does do a lot of good for, pushing the envelope of like, I mean, shoot, our mobile phones. I mean, there are many computers in our pockets. I mean, you have, Star Trek tricorders. It's like, okay, many medical device or a scientific tool to measure things, and it's like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you had like, remember when Google Glass came out? Remember that?
Yeah.
So excuse me. Yeah, it's like that happened. You had the comparison shots of like, this looks like this from Star Trek, or
Mm-hmm.
like your tablets. It's like, this like this from Star
Yeah,
Trek.
when they would write on the pads. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Star Trek. Star Trek did that.
Yep.
Star Trek did that. So now I'm just like,
Yep.
so eventually we're gonna have warp drive, right? Eventually.
I'm waiting.
Well, according to our timeline, in 2065, we're supposed to have our first warp test flight, and we meet the Vulcans. So, I mean, first contact happens on April 5th, 2065. We got some time. So, I mean, that just goes to something I enjoy. Like when like nerd dates pop up in real life, when it says
Yes.
like 29 in November 2019 was when the first Blade Runner took place. So
Yeah.
it's like, here we are. We should be dressing like this now
Right.
with like the cyberpunk goggles and fashion, but we're not.
Right. Like the Jetsons, weren't they 2002 or something like that?
I'm gonna check on that. I'm gonna check because
Yeah.
I have a theory about the Jetsons, and then we're gonna take a quick break after that. But like, I have a theory that the Jetsons, if you notice, they always live in the sky. They were never on the ground. The only time we saw them on the ground, as far as I know, is in the Jetsons Flintstones crossover movie.
Yeah.
I feel like what happened was the Earth had some climate control issue, and we had to live in the sky.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
I agree.
food for thought. But with that one, we will take a quick break and we'll be right back.
What's good, Internet? This is Kurenai Kiba, and you are listening to the Blerdlines podcast. And welcome back to the show. This is Kurenai Kiba, and I am here with Chancellor D, and we are discussing our debate, which so far has been hugely one-sided: Star Trek versus Star Wars, or Star Wars versus Star Trek, whichever one's your preference.
Mm-hmm.
So, as we left, we went ahead and we were heavily debating, or we were heavily discussing Star Trek. And now I feel we have to shift gears just to give the other challenger some, I guess you would say, some pointers or like some pros to this fight. I don't know. How would you put it?
Yeah, I would say give them their due. Give them their shot. But before we go into that, we left off with a question about the Jetsons. So I did look it up. The Jetsons take place in the year 2062, and this comes from the Me TV website, which says that it takes place in the year 2062. The cartoon itself never states the specific year, though. Characters often refer to living in the 21st century. However, promotional materials and articles at the time explain that the Jetsons were living exactly 100 years into the future. So
okay,
we got some years. We have some years to go for that, but we'll have our flying cars soon. And I hope that when we have our flying cars, people do not say, "I know my car, I'm good," and it is sitting on E. That's gonna be the last. That's gonna be like the one time we're like, we're in the sky. No.
Just like Link the Whip anymore. Like, This is we're adding a third dimension to this, and I'm gonna need you to focus up.
Yes. And you know how they say, when you got like turn your music down in the park, I'm gonna need you to like turn your holographic projection of like a movie off as you're flying, and
Right?
roll down that space window, have your bubble open so the air won't suck in, and you can kind of like look behind you to make sure that you're not parking in some cloud.
Right.
in,
Right.
but anywho, Star Wars. So,
Yeah.
um, so we know the first movie came out 1977, and that was Star Wars. Then the follow up was uh, Empire Strikes Back in 1980, and then our last installment of the original trilogy was The Return of the Jedi in 1983, which the original name for the movie was going to be Revenge of the Jedi, but there are posters out there we can find for that, but Return of the Jedi. And then we jump to 1999 with The Phantom Menace, which is episode 1, Attack of the Clones in 2002, and Revenge of the Sith in 2005. And fun fact, kids, you had Time Magazine posting a whole magazine in 2005, The End of Star Wars. It was like the last Star Wars. And I kept that magazine for like the longest time and got rid of it because I had to get rid of stuff.
Fair.
But then we jumped to 2008 gave us the Clone Wars animated movie. Um, then you had the Clone Wars animated series, which just ended this week, and the Rebels, and then the new trilogy. The Force Awakens, the Last Jedi, and the Rise of Skywalker. And in between, you've had Rogue One, the Han Solo movie, different TV shows, different animated shows, the expand,
Mhm.
the now considered Legends universe, because with Disney control. But with that being said, different media, games, books, whatever. The same for Star Trek. They have their own media as well as too. But Star Wars, you know, I think you could say, this one has a lot. Like, it's like, westerns. Like, you can see you have your western part in it. It's we're gonna go on our adventure, or you also have the part about like the samurai warrior, fighting like the Black Knight. Um, like George Lucas pulled from a lot of things that were in his childhood. The Flash Gordons, like the black and white Flash Gordons. Not because the original live action movie was like the 1980s. So
Yeah.
you got your serials. He pulled from a lot of different things that he grew up with, and he made a good movie. And at the time when Star Wars came out, or right beforehand, people weren't so sold on that. I mean,
Yeah.
Star Trek had been around now for a few years, but
Mhm.
people weren't so sold on, oh, you're gonna have this kid saving a princess, and he's gonna fight this guy in space, and then it turned out to be a success, and here we are, years later with this giant franchise. But I
Okay.
think looking at it, it's like if I have to look at Star Wars as a whole, they do a lot of advancements, like especially in film. Like on the Empire Strikes Back, the whole Battle of Hoth sequence. I believe they said in like cinema history, it's the first time you ever shot anything on white before,
Yeah.
and like that had never been done. And then,
Yeah.
because like that whole sequence, like the first time I saw Star Wars was in uh, 1997. I was about to say 1977. I was like, no, I wasn't born then. But 1997, we had the 20th anniversary, and that's when they got the additional names. Episode 4, A New Hope, and and then they add the episode titles. But watching that for the first time, like especially watching the opening crawl of Star Wars, and then you have Leia's Star Cruiser. I think it's like Tantive 4. Pretty sure I mispronounced it. Being chased by Vader's Star Destroyer, and just that opening shot is like it's a magical thing.
Yeah.
Just to see that
Right.
like what is this? I need to know everything about this. Why is this little ship being chased by this giant ship? What is going on? What's so important? And it's like, who are these droids? Why, like, what are they doing? And you got these soldiers, they're preparing for a battle. Like, what is all this? I mean, side note, when the original Battlefront 2 game came out on PS2, and you got to play there's a level where you get to play in the spaceship, I geeked out super hard.
I know it's right.
But
I don't blame you for it.
I was like, we're in Leia Starship. Oh my god. And, okay, but like just watching that for the first time, and then the big reveal in the next movie. Spoiler for those who have never seen The Empire Strikes Back. I don't know why you've never seen it, unless you are not born. Spoilers: Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's dad, and Princess Leia is his sister, and they totally kiss each other too. Yeah, not awkward, but but watching those moments, jokes aside, watching all those moments as a kid, like it does something for you. I think like this, I could say the same thing for Star Trek too. Watching it, but I think having that moment you're watching it on the big screen, and it's like you got space battles and you got the lightsaber fights, and it's like the redemption at the end, and Vader it comes back to the light side at the end, and the galaxy is saved, and yeah, we're cool, but like it's a nice adventure, and then
Yes.
and then and kind of to wrap it up in a nice bow, like yeah, it's a nice adventure, but then when that original trilogy ended and that's all we had, like that opened the door for like what's next. What are Luke and the gang gonna do next? And you had all this expanded universe stuff and everything that
Yeah.
it just went and gave us a whole bunch of wonderful characters. Luke got married, and Han and Leia had twins, and it's like the good side, light side, dark side, back and forth. But I think at the end of the day, like it Star Wars appeals to like the emotions, like the happy emotions inside people. And then as the story has developed, like really evolved into now we've seen the full Clone Wars. We've
Right.
we saw how that went, and then seeing Anakin's backstory and how that's fleshed out in the Clone Wars, and he has an apprentice, or he had an apprentice, and that story is super emotional, and it's like this it grabs you in because it's like it goes somewhere.
Right.
But what's your feel on that?
When it comes to Star Wars, there's an overall, it was always far more aggressive than Star Trek, at least when it came to like the overall feel. It was very high power, high action, um, high energy. When you're experiencing any part of the series, for me, it was always just like this is going on, this is happening, this is a battle, this is being built. These people are are rebelling. It's like it kind of like hypes you up to be a part of that war emotionally. And that was something that I always felt as to why I feel it's such an adventure, which is why I agree with you so much. But it's like, man, it's like these people are struggling, or these people are just killing people left and right. This is amazing, blah blah blah, and it's so entertaining and so filled with so much that you're on the edge of your seat as soon as you sit down. And that's something that I've always really enjoyed. Like I know that there are times when uh, it was a lot more lax when it comes to Star Trek sometimes. Sometimes it's very intense, but there were waves of emotions because you could flush that out in a series. But when
Right.
it came to Star Wars, it's like, listen, we got a couple of hours. We're going to go ahead and beat all the emotions out of you as soon as you sit down and call it a day until the next movie.
Right.
And I thought it was really cool.
Because it's always like, because like, back in the day, you had the Fox fanfare, and then it would get quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Then you would see the Lucasfilm, it's all quiet, and then you have a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away in blue, then black screen, then you wait, dun, and then Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's like Star Wars, and it's just like, okay, the episode, and then the opening crawl would tell you, okay, where are we now?
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay,
Stimulating.
this has happened here since the last time you were here with us. Like, it's kind of like, hey, this is the last time you visited us. This has happened, and here we are. And welcome back.
Yeah.
And welcome back. But now you have all these books and stuff that like fill in the gaps. Like, okay, after that movie happened, you've had this happen, and this happened, and this happened, and then honestly, I feel like the books and other media, like, it does hype it up and build it up more, because then it fills in more of the gaps. Like, okay, especially in that period between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, you have 19 years of Empire heavy rule where they're building the Death Star in secret, and
Yeah.
it's like, okay, the rebellion hasn't formed yet, but it's like, how they formed. And like the TV show Rebels does a good job of showing how the rebellion came together. And like, and then there are books in between that that do talk about it. And I don't, I'll just give a good nod to the Ahsoka novel. Like, I highly suggest reading the Ahsoka novel. Like, that's really good. And then on the flip side, read the novel about Tarkin. His novel is really good.
Yeah.
like
Um,
like Tarkin, specifically him, he was one of my favorite villains in the first movie. He didn't have a lot to do in the movie, but every time he was on the screen, I was like, it's Tarkin. What is he about to say or do?
I was always Count I've always really favored him more than anything. Just his overall design fascinated.
Exactly. I mean,
And
him.
I had like discovered the different things about him. It just got more and more gruesome. Uh, it was just like, wow.
Because
like between him and General Grievous, oh my goodness.
Agreed. Like, so, like, I like how, like, the Clone Wars, like, movie, like the animated movie. Well, first off, let's acknowledge, that there was the 2003 Clone Wars animated features. About, I think, about 2 hours, like, total runtime, I think, or a little bit over 2 hours. That it was, by the creator of Samurai Jack and Papa Girls. They made that on Cartoon Network, and that was Clone Wars. So you got to watch that, and then it fit in really well with telling the story, like, where General Grievous come from. Like, he just showed up, and it was like super mysterious. But now that we had the now like canon Clone Wars series, seeing how they fleshed out Grievous and that Tarkin, where Tarkin's like a younger general in that point, or I think he was captain. I think he was captain. I think they seeing how he came up the ranks, and even like Admiral Yularen, how they now have said Admiral Yularen on the animated series is now this one random dude that you see on the Death Star in the meeting. Like, when they have that scene where Tarkin comes in the room and says the Imperial Senate has now been dissolved by the Emperor. Admiral Yularen is now sitting right there too, and I was like, you mean to tell me this guy moved up the ranks and he's up here? And it's like, oh, okay, I like that. And same with Tarkin, same with Tarkin, but it's like it's about following people on their journey.
Yeah, and like you're watching that evolution of that character. Mm-hmm. Just when they were in, where you see those building blocks and watching them kind of like become what you were introduced with previously, and you fill in the gaps. You find the answers to the mysteries that were planted in your head. And I just think that that's amazing. And it seems as if that's like an overarching theme that when it comes to a lot of the ones that we've liked, that was a key point and the reason as to why we like those stories.
I agree. I mean, like another character I'll point out, like a fan favorite character, like Captain Rex from Clone Wars. How like
Mm,
he evolved through just the Clone Wars, and then Rebels, and then they went and said that there's a this gentleman who is he played a random character like a random character in Return of the Jedi. It's like when
yeah,
they're on Endor about to destroy the satellite. I mean like the like the base. So they can lower the shield to protect the second Death Star.
right.
There's an older gentleman with white hair, and he's on screen for like half a second, and they went and said, yeah, that's Captain Rex right there. I was like, wait, what?
What?
so so then I'm like, he lived that long, at least that long that we can know about. So it's like, okay, we're gonna tell you this person was here, they were here, they were here. So like I think if you want to like a difference, like even though Star Trek does the same thing with a lot of like their characters, I
Yeah,
think the difference is you're following them on their journey. So you had like for the most part, each Star Trek show had 7 seasons, with the exception of Enterprise that had 4,
yeah,
and the original series I think had 3 seasons. But
yeah,
but with Star Wars, it's like you have like you said, you got your couple hours movie here, and then you got some books here, you got TV shows here. But I think Star Wars as a whole though revolves around A New Hope, because that was your starting point. Everything revolves around that.
yes, yeah. I agree wholeheartedly. That's the birth of everything. The birth of just man, these Skywalkers and these solos out here wrecking the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Like one birth of a baby at a time. I don't know. And instead of
It, it's because it's. I mean, like we knew he's come out the gate. Okay, you got Darth Vader. Okay, that's Luke's dad. It's Leia's dad.
yeah.
Okay, but then Leia talked about, well, she grew up with a different family. Okay, where did she live? It's just like you start peeling back the layers. It's like okay, so her last name was Organa. Okay, so then when you got the prequel movies when they came out, you had Senator Organa, and I was like, okay, that's Senator Organa.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna wait, and it's like, okay, he takes the baby. Okay, cool. Okay, he's gonna raise Leia. Okay, got it. So it's like, okay, you're filling in the pieces. Like, okay,
Yeah.
so
They were twins. So, like, what happened? How did they get separated for so long to not even know who they were or what they looked like?
right. I mean, like I would tell you, like there are some people who are in the final season of the Clone Wars that are in Rebels. Like we met them initially in Rebels, but now we've seen a younger version of them in Clone Wars. So it's like,
Ah,
okay, I like this. Like they had a bigger role in the other show, but it's like, oh, I know who you are. Cool.
yeah.
So it's like especially taking people like then there's an episode of Clone Wars where Greedo shows up for like one episode. It's like, we know who kills you, so you can't die now.
Yeah.
so, so with that in mind, it's like I like that about Star Wars. It's like, okay, we know where
yeah.
certain people have to be,
Yeah.
but
Like there's certain building blocks that are already pre-established with the movies. We're here to fill in the gaps,
right. I
and
mean,
I like that. Like I'm watching The Mandalorian now. I know, don't hate
I'm
me.
not hating.
I'm late. I know I am.
I
But
I wanted to say something. Wait, how far are you into Mandalorian?
so I'm on like episode 3 or 4.
Okay, so it's
Not even that.
only 8 total. Yeah, only 8
Yeah,
total.
I'm
I
only halfway.
I will say this to you, and I'm gonna not say anything spoiler related.
Okay.
When you're done with the season, well, question: have you seen Star Wars Rebels at all?
Yeah.
You saw that those 4 seasons. Okay, keep that in mind.
I
Oh,
will.
that's all I'm gonna
I
say.
will.
That's all I'm gonna say. Especially
Yes,
when you get to the last episode. Yeah, all I'm gonna
you got it. But I
say.
will keep that in mind as I
Because
keep going.
because I
But
I
like,
I'm,
I
I'm
know
going
I'm super late to the game. I'm like, I just bought Disney Plus because I was
yeah.
ho humming about it. I'm like, should I get it? Should I not get it? But then with all the Star Wars that's on there, I'm like, okay, all
I
right.
mean, we have a documentary on there now. Like, I haven't watched that yet. The documentary about Mandalorian, but I wouldn't watch that until you finish the season. Because
Yeah, no, I'm not going to just.
I
I'm
don't
going
want
to ingest anything else until I finish.
Okay.
And then once I finish, it's pull no punches. I'm good for anything. I just gotta finish it. I'm almost done.
Okay. Well,
took me a day or two.
I will say, that enjoy the ride with it. I mean, like, I watched it, like, as they released, like, one episode at a time, and I was like, okay, I was
I'm
enjoying
loving it.
that. But now that the whole season's done, like, you can binge that like fast.
And I know, but I'm trying to savor it because the cost. Oh my gosh, the costumes are beautiful.
Yes.
The scenery, gorgeous. The writing is amazing. Jon Favreau is everywhere, apparently. He just does everything well. Okay, I didn't expect that from Jon Favreau, but we're here.
I mean, we gotta probably thank him for the MCU. He gave us Iron Man 1.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, okay, Happy. Yeah. Thanks. Yes. He just takes things and he turns it into gold, apparently. But it's just
Happy Hogan, everybody. Yes. I mean, I'm excited.
So well done.
I'm excited for season 2.
I already am, and I'm not even done with season 1.
I mean, because now that you're watching it, I want to go back and watch it again.
I probably will too.
I mean, I feel like I've only seen like the only episodes I think I watched more than once are like the first and the last 2. I watched those back to back. But yeah. I will tell you, when you watch the 7th episode, you're not gonna want to stop.
That sounds about right. I believe it. I already don't want to stop, but I have to. With some of these, I'm like, oh no, I got to do this.
I mean, I would say this, with them releasing things like one episode at a time, it does. Yeah. I understand the whole notion of we're a binge culture now. We want to watch everything, all in one go, but I think the downside of that is you binged an entire season of a show that people spent hours of their life working on in probably a day.
Yes.
And then you have to wait a couple of years or something like that. Like I think before the world changed, we were supposed to get a season 2 of The Witcher sometime next year, but I haven't started that yet. But it took them a long time to film season 1. I mean, to be fair, I binged I think the last 2 seasons of Ultron Legendary Defender in one day apiece. So I was like, I can't. I'm not going to talk. But it's like but watching these episodes one episode at a time, it was like you're able to sit there and like just digest it. Like,
yes.
Okay, what's happening here? Okay, I'm ready for next Friday.
Yeah.
Because like the same for Clone Wars, they released the last episode of Clone Wars on Star Wars Day this past Monday. Yeah. So I was like already ready, like come out Friday the 8th, okay. And it was like Star Wars Day. Last episode comes out Monday. I'm like, you mean you tell me I only have to wait 2 days? Okay. So I at that night after I finally had time to watch it, I was just like, okay. And then I got all in my emotions and was just like, the difference is I don't have to wait to know what comes next.
Yeah.
Because next already exists.
Yeah.
But all I would say about that, the Clone Wars, The final scene though, it's gonna make you cry.
I'm
Like if you want to like talk about having emotions,
oh,
that this like one of my coworkers, he just texted me. He was like that final scene. I was like, okay, and I watched
oh,
it, and I texted
and
him,
I'm back to crying
I
again.
just said, I said that final scene, no words. And he's like, I know, like that did it for the entire series is summed up in like that one scene. But you'll have to. I'm not gonna tell you what happened. You'll just have to watch it, and then you'll know what I mean.
I'm so excited.
But I think we can say before we wrap this up, this was just like part one. Like this for everyone. Like this is like our part one.
Yeah,
Um, this was like our overview. But next
yeah.
time, like we will go down and talk about Star Trek.
Okay.
So part two of this discussion is about Star Trek. We're gonna go some history, talking about some of the movies and shows and um, where that goes, and then the follow up will be Star Wars on part three, and then
Okay.
we're gonna save the rest of that for you all after. We're not gonna give too much right now, but it's kind of give everyone where we're going. But what we have our part two, we will be discussing Star Trek. But before we wrap things up, is there anything else you want to share with the audience?
Actually, I would like to reach out to them and be like, and wonder what is their favorite. Do they enjoy Star Trek over Star Wars, or is it vice versa? And give reasons why.
Yes, yes, yes. We would love to hear from you in the comments below, and on here on YouTube and any other platforms like on social media, like reach out to us on Facebook, um, Twitter, Instagram. Like this, give us your feedback. We would love to hear from you all, and we can discuss it on the next one.
Sounds good to me. Actually, it would be cool. Looks like a nice little segment.
All
I
right.
look forward to hearing their replies and their reasons why. That'd be really interesting.
Same here, and and those of y'all that give us comments, we would love to read some on the air, and we can we can share your thoughts and share things within the Blerdlines community.
So,
All right, but say thank you all for joining us, and thank you Kurenai Kiba for joining us this evening on Blerdlines.
oh, thank you so much for having me, Chancellor. This has been a blast.
You're welcome, and I will see you on the next one.